In this demonstration you will learn how to show the actual error in the tooltip. Let's switch to Visual Studio. When you remove from a customer the first name, the text box gets a red border. But as a user, you don't see the error message. Now in this clip, let's show it in a tooltip. Let's keep the application running and let's go to the Solution Explorer. I expand here the ViewModel folder and I open the Customer Item ViewModel class. Here in the setter of the first name property, we add the error first name is required. So this error message should be visible in the tooltip. Let's go again to the Solution Explorer and let's expand here the View folder. I open here the Customer's View SAML file and I scroll down in this file. Here you can see the text box that is bound to that first name property. So on this text box, you want to show the validation error in the tooltip. To do this, you have to use a style for this text box. As you know, we have already created here in the Resources folder of our project a styles SAML file. Let's open that file, and as you might remember, it contains here an implicit style for text box elements, and that style can be used to show the error in a tooltip. When the binding on the text box has a validation error, on the text box the attached validation has error property is set to true. This means you can create here a property trigger for that attached validation has error property. Let's check with the property trigger if that property is true. And if that's the case, you can define here different setters. I just copy here the setter for the background property, and now let's set here the value to red. This means if we have a validation error, the text box will have a red background. Let's bring up the application again to see this. Yes, as you can see, the first name text box is red. When I type in a name, it is black again, and as soon as the first name is empty, the text box is red. Now let's go again to the styles SAML file. In this trigger, let's create another setter for the tooltip property of our text box. Now here, setting the value is a bit more complicated. The validation errors are also stored in an attached property on the text box. To grab the error, you need to use here a data binding. You need the text box as a data source. To do this, you use the relative source property and you initialize it with the relative source markup extension with the mode self. This gives you the text box element as a data source. Now let's set on that binding markup extension the path property. You want to grab the attached validation errors property from the text box, and to grab that property in a binding path, you need to put it into parentheses like you see it here. Next, let's grab here the first error from that errors property, and the error has an error content property that contains the error message. Now let's close here the setter and let's bring up the application again. Let's hover here the first name text box and you can see the error message in the tooltip. The tooltip as such is a bit small, so let's go back to the styles SAML file and let's change this. I create here another implicit style for the target type tooltip. In this style, let's create a setter for the font size property and let's set it to a value of 20. Now let's bring up the application again. Now let's hover here the first name text box, and now you can see here the error message in the tooltip with a nice font size. Alright, in the next clip, let me show you how you can display the error message directly here in the user interface.